so often when we're trying to have our goals met or create goals or plan or do things, there are things in our way. We can call them people. We can call them real obstacles. We can call them mental barriers. Regardless, there's always going to be something that could be a potential hurdle. The question is, do you see them? And what do you do about them? Let's talk about that. Welcome to the Go Reflect Yourself podcast, bringing you real strategies to cultivate the life and business of your dreams, full of freedom and fulfillment, starting from the inside out. Working hard and staying busy will only get you so far. To truly become happy, content, and who you're meant to be, we have to move beyond physical capacities and begin to look from within. We have to change our thoughts and our mindset into our most powerful assets, transforming you to take inspired action so you can become a better version of yourself and to have the life of your dreams.
You are stronger than you believe. You have greater powers than you know.
Hello and welcome. Depending upon when you're listening to this, there's always a good time to talk about goals and talk about plans and things that you want to do and accomplish. But anyway, it is now the beginning of a new year, a new decade. I'm actually recording this. Gosh, I've lost track of, I don't even know what day it is. Thursday? When? I don't know. It's the beginning of the new year. It's the 2nd of January. And there's so much to talk about. But I just first want to welcome you. If this is the first time you have listened, thank you and welcome. And Go Reflect Yourself is really about how you can be a better version of yourself, how you can rock it, how you can have all of your dreams and more. Go Reflect Yourself is truly about connecting and taking control of all the strengths, the inner things that you already have that are well inside of you, and cultivating those and making them better so that you're a stronger, better, more confident, more authentic, more joyful, more fulfilled, more successful version of yourself. A lot of people really go down the self-development path and keep spinning their wheels. And I've done it too. It's called shelf help, where you buy programs or you buy books and you may read or do some, but it ends up on your bookshelf, collecting dust, just being a part of the process. But what's it really get you? Now, I'm not saying those things are bad because they're not. There's some wonderful, tremendous personal development, self-help, programs, books, everything. But the question is, it's not about are they good? It's about where are you in the process? Where are you in really taking a good, honest, candid, curious look at yourself and where you're at and where you've been and where you want to go? I remember years ago, and I've yo-yoed. I'll be completely honest. I have yo-yoed over my entire life in really giving my full effort to things and to being better and to growing, and then sort of giving them effort and then saying I'm going to give them effort and not. So I've been all over the place and I get it. And depending upon things in your life and things you're going through at the time really do make an impact. But the question is, where are you really giving your focus and your time and attention? And from a self-help perspective, a lot of people look at, I have to fix all these things about me, or I have to fix my environment, or I have to fix other people. And we all know that's not true. We all know that to be able to really grow and to be able to become the best version of yourself, you have to self-reflect. And you have to be able to look at your environment, look at the circumstances, and be able to succeed regardless. Not only to succeed, but to thrive. And those are definitions, and there's different conversations we can have surrounding those. But really just taking a look at where are you? Where are you right now? Where do you want to go? So my point to this is go reflect yourself is about taking control right now and being able to give yourself the gift of being a better version of yourself, to be able to have a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is all the things that you really want to be. And again, it's not to say that things are bad. Things are great. You're here. You're listening. You're doing things. Those are positive, productive things. But it's about what's more, or what's one little thing that you can tweak that can be maybe more efficient, or just that tiny little lever that you can pull and boom, your eyes are opened and you're exploring other opportunities that you never knew were there because you didn't allow yourself that freedom to explore. So gosh, there's so much to talk about. I'm just thinking about so many things. And as this is the beginning of the new year, I self-reflect all the time. Probably too much. Let's just be honest. But I don't look at that as a bad thing. I look at it as a way that I can constantly have a temperature check. And I firmly believe that what you measure, you can change. It's like having your thermostat in your house. If you're cold, you don't sit there and complain that you're cold. Well, you might complain that you're cold, but you're going to do something about it. And what are those things that you're going to do? First, you're probably going to go to the thermometer and you're going to see what the temperature is in your room or your house. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, it's 67 degrees. Now, to some people, they would say, 67 is perfect. Not me. I'm going to say I'm cold. But I'm probably going to turn the thermostat up. And by measuring that, by seeing it, then I'm able to change it. I'm also going to do things that's going to help it, like maybe put on a sweater, maybe add another pair of socks, maybe do some jumping jacks, maybe get my heart rate up, do things to have my body temperature increased as well. Therefore, that thermostat is a tool to help understand where you're at. You know you're cold. You can feel that you're cold. But that thermostat helps confirm it. It confirms what the real temperature is, but it's also a measurement. And I firmly believe that what you measure, you can change. And that's why self-reflection is so important. That's why this time of year is really a very valuable time to look at where you're at, to be able to look at the things that are working and the things that are not. But self-reflection is certainly not about beating yourself up. It's not about saying, oh my gosh, all these things are bad and wrong. It's really about saying all these things are good and all of these things are working. It's like looking at the key performance measurements, KPIs, key performance index, is really like taking a look at the things inside of your business. If we were to look at it from a business perspective only, it's a little easier to tolerate the results because they seem to be out of our control. So if we look at a business perspective only and we look at cost per leads or cost per clicks or cost per acquisition, or if we look at just revenue figures, those things are big and those things are detailed and layered. But if we drill them down and we look at them individually, they don't seem as overwhelming because it's one sliver and one piece of this ginormous pie. But it also doesn't seem as personal or as heavy because it is a business measurement. A lot of people, it's easier to look at business measurements. It's easier just to look at the bottom line. It's easier to look at the revenue. And that's okay. But it's like when I used to be a financial advisor, 99.9% of the time you give someone their statement, their monthly or quarterly or yearly financial statement. What's the first thing you do when you get your investment statement or your net worth statement? You look at the bottom line. And that's okay. But there's so many other things that go into that than just that bottom line. It's the same thing with revenue. And it's the same thing with how much money you might have in your bank account, or how big your house is, or how little your house is, whatever. That's just one thing. But it's a compound effect. So going back to my financial advising statement, or your financial or your portfolio statement or net worth, or however you want to look at it, if I look at the bottom line, what's that really mean to me? And how does that integrate into this bigger thing, which is called life and you and your family and your goals and your business and your health and your fun and your fulfillment? All of those things are factors. And that bottom line is not the thing that's driving. It's just not. So often, that's all I hear from people is looking at the bottom line of life. Well, what is that? And it's different for everybody. And the reason I'm saying it like this is because that's what measurement is all about. And that's what self-reflection really helps with, is to further clarify and define. These are the things I need to watch. These are the things I need to measure throughout this year. And if you haven't had a chance to sit down yet and really go over your goals, then I would just really, really advise you, recommend, encourage, that's the word I'm looking for. I would encourage you to pick 2 or 3 things. What are the 2 or 3 things for your goals for this year? Maybe it's, let's take a big thing and we can chunk it down, right? That's how we get results, is by chunking things down. But if we take a look at let's look at it from a revenue perspective. Maybe I want to grow my revenue by 50%. Okay. That's a very specific thing. But let's drill down. What do you need to grow that revenue? Is it X, a number of new clients? Is it selling a number of new things? Is it whatever that is for you? That revenue growth, maybe it's getting a new job. Maybe it's asking for a raise. Maybe it's getting another job. Maybe it's getting a part-time job. Maybe it's finally releasing the fear and starting that part-time business that you've always wanted to, or really living and designing the life of your dreams. But from a revenue perspective, if we chunk it down and we say, okay, our goal is to increase by 50%, an additional 50%, we need to sell or do XYZ. Then we go back another layer. What are the specific things we need to do that? Then we go back one more layer. And this is where self-reflection starts to really get juicy, really help you, is what mindset have I had? And what mindset do I need to be able to fulfill those things? Now, it's interesting, and my point to that, before I kind of veer off too much, is that's how you start to measure. Clearly, these small successes, If you create this path of, I need to make 2 extra phone calls a day and sell 5 extra things a month and get 5 new clients a month, whatever. Clearly, those small successes will add to that bigger goal. But if we really start drilling it back to our mental attitude, what we're thinking, what we're saying, that affects what we're doing. Because remember, if you don't know, or if you've not listened to one of my prior podcasts or anything I've ever said, but your thoughts and your feelings create your beliefs, which create your actions, which create your results. And those habits inside of that cycle really get formed by our thoughts and our beliefs, our feelings. So that's why drilling it back and going to that deepest layer of what do we think? How are we responding to these things? And the measurement is correlated with the result, but it's also correlated with, this is what I think right now about this. Now, one of my goals, and hey, if you want to help keep me accountable, I would love that. Because one of my goals is to create a journal. I love to journal. And I don't even remember, to be honest, if I've talked about this in the past. And if I have, just indulge me and listen again. If I have not, then great. It's a bonus. But I love journaling. And that's really a part of that self-reflection process. But journaling, asking the right questions. A lot of people get so frustrated about journaling. They're like, I don't want to just sit and write about my feelings, or I don't want to talk about all my problems. And you're right. You don't have to. Journaling is not about that. It's about asking questions that can prompt a mental thought and a mental thread that can really help solve problems. It's all about really going back to your intuition and understanding how you're thinking and understanding your actions based upon how you're thinking. That's why journaling is so valuable, as long as you're doing it and asking the right questions. And even if you're not, just the fact that you're journaling and thinking and processing, that's a positive thing. So I don't want to say that any type of journaling isn't productive, because it is, but of course that's another thing that you could improve and enhance on. But one of my goals over this next year is to create a journal that really kind of helps a pathway, if you will. And I'm very visual, and I always put things in a roadmap perspective. It's a process perspective. I'm not an engineer by trade, but sometimes I wonder where some of this engineering type of brain of mine comes from, because I love processes. It helps me think. It helps me have confidence in doing something that is going to have a result, or a tangible result, or at least it puts it in a visual way that you can see it. So that's why I like roadmaps, because it's like, okay, this is where I want to go, and this is how I chunk it down, and these are the stops I need to make along the road. And a journal, I think, can be very valuable. And there's some really, really great journals. In fact, I got my kids this amazing, it's more of a mindfulness type of journal. And I'm so excited to go through it with them over this next year. And it was created specifically for kids. And I've wanted to do this for a really long time. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, that journal I got from them kind of reignited my desire to create a big person version. But to be able to have something that's in addition to setting our goals and our intentions and to keep us accountable, but more of a self-reflection as well. And there's different types of ways you can do self-reflection. So again, that's journaling, and that's another part. And I'll address that more in later future episodes, where we can talk about journaling a little bit more specific. And then maybe you can help me keep accountable on creating a new kind of a reflection journal. But I'd like to also talk about hurdles, because if I go back through those examples I just were giving of your goal, and looking at this goal. And for example, if you have a goal, I'll just put the journal example since I just talked about that. And this will be very self-reflective out loud because I'm going to do this real time. And what I mean is what are the hurdles and what are the barriers? And there's several different acronyms you can use for this type of exercise, but I'm just going to talk about it from a bigger, bolder perspective. So for example, if I say my goal is to create this journal, and I'm going to write, so if you hear me kind of like scratching on the side, that's what I'm doing, because I'm actually going to do this out loud together, which will be fun. But if I create a journal in 2020, and the journal is going to encompass goals, it's going to encompass self-reflection, it's going to encompass gratitude, it's going to encompass accountability. That's the thing I want to create. I want to create this journal that is basically a self-reflection mindfulness journal. Okay? Now that's my goal. And clearly, once I have it created, then I've reached that goal, right? That's one part of the goal. Now let's start backing up. There will be things I will have to do from a technical perspective of design and creation and layout and publishing and editing and testing and getting beta testers to help give some feedback. And if anybody wants to do that, let me know. Because again, I'm literally talking this out loud. But then as I go back one more layer to that, I can put components in place. Now, this is part of the technical planning piece of, okay, maybe I write a certain number of ideas a week or a certain number of pages a week. And I have a goal of certain dates put in place of things that I'm going to do to hit. Maybe I have 2 chapters written by summer or whatever dates that I put in place. What are my obstacles that I'm going to hit? Obstacles may be real, meaning they may be clients that I have along the way that take priority, or maybe one of my kids gets sick for a couple days, and those might have been days where I was going to really focus on free writing or doing brainstorming or research and development, and it slows me down. Those are barriers, things that could come into play. I don't know. They're unknown right now, but there are potential obstacles and barriers that are going to happen. The other obstacles and barriers and hurdles now become my mindset, which is maybe I don't have time. And that may be real or it might be made up. Either way, my mind is going to believe whichever I think and however I feel about that. If I think about that right now and just literally process that in my brain and feel that in my body, if I start thinking about time and I start stressing of I want to create this, and even though, yes, it may seem feasible to spend 1 hour a week writing, what if I don't have time? What if I get interrupted? What if I just can't do it? And oh my gosh, this is too much. This is too big of a project. I'm not going to be able to do it. I start feeling it in my body. My body starts taking over. I might get a little sweaty. And I'm literally letting my body feel this right now. I'm actually trying my best to process what I'm saying so I can feel it. And I'll be honest, I immediately got a little bit of a headache and a little bit of a pit in my stomach. And you might even hear in my voice, I can hear in my voice even hesitancy, reluctant feelings, because I'm actually trying to process this, like really think about what these obstacles and mental barriers are for me And when I immediately talk about, quote, being stressed about time or something else to do, something else to add to the plate. So now I'm going to take that, and now is really that self-reflection of, okay, this is a barrier, and this probably is always going to be a barrier of, maybe it's self-doubt, maybe it's lack of commitment, maybe it's time that I'm really struggling with, and maybe I need to ask the questions of how is my time? Why is that? Why is that one thing that I'm really feeling it in my body? Why is that a trigger for me? Now, this is where mindfulness exercise comes into play. And this is where meditation can add tremendous value. Not in sitting and meditating about this for 5 straight days, but literally giving you 5, 10, 15 minutes of, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm just going to feel it in my body. I'm going to just exercise some quiet and patient and allow my body to relax. And I'm just going to breathe into this. And I'm not going to sit and pinpoint and concentrate, what is this about? No, I'm going to sit and allow whatever comes to me to come. And that meditative moment, you can call it a mindfulness moment, if you will. But that's really just going to give some focused attention to, okay, this thing, my body, what's really going on inside of there. And I'll give you an exercise in just a moment where I can walk you through that a little bit more, that you can go through that yourself. But those are one of the things that you can do to really start to help self-reflect and deepen those layers. And so now what I might do is now I might journal, and I might say, what is the number one reason that time is my obstacle right now when I'm thinking about creating this journal? And that's a very specific question, very. But it's going to lead to other things. And it's going to lead to me really starting to ask, what is my time like? That was the thing that came up for me as an obstacle that really settled into my body. And there's probably more. And I'm just giving this to you as a real life example because it is real. I'll be honest, I'm really thinking about this. That's why I'm probably slowing down my speech tremendously, because I'm really trying to process this. So this is fantastic. Thank you for indulging me in my own self-reflection exercise. But there's other obstacles that will come into play. People calling, maybe it's you sit down to try to journal, or you sit down to try to write a chapter or an episode and your phone rings. That's a real life thing that's probably going to happen. Well, an easy solution to that, because the whole point of self-reflection is to be able to move the needle. It's not just to be like, oh yeah, I figured this out, but I'm going to keep doing the same thing over and over. Maybe you keep doing the same thing over and over if it's very effective and it's helping you and it's efficient. But if it's not, then that's the whole point, is to move the needle and to be able to enhance what's working, but also to really say, okay, I'm trying to concentrate right now on writing a chapter, or I'm trying to concentrate right now on just brainstorming. But my stinking phone keeps ringing, or I keep getting these text message notifications. Guess what? Those are distracting. So turn them off. Set your timer for 30 to 40 minutes. Give yourself a mindfulness bell on your phone and shut it down. Put do not disturb. I'm sorry, friends and family and clients and colleagues. I keep my phone on do not disturb a large portion of the day. Only when I know I'm expecting a phone call or a certain period of the day where I don't have it really scheduled, or probably when I'm driving. I will put my phone or take it off of do not disturb, because it's more important for me when I'm focusing on something to actually focus my attention. If I am having dinner with my family or having a conversation, I need to focus my time and attention right then, right there on that. So in order for me to be able to do that, then my attention, I need to give it my full focus when I'm trying to do something. So that's just one obstacle, for example, and one way to help get through it. And so I'm saying that as a very specific type of tactic, if you will. All of these things, really breaking through the barriers, really peeling back the onions and asking yourself, what's my goal? How can I micro step into that goal? And what are the potential obstacles, barriers that are going to come into play? And then how do I think and feel about them? If I am understanding my mindset, and this is where writing them down, like today, if I write this down, and this is part of that measurement. So I'm going full circle here of understanding what that thermostat is. If I write all this down and say, today, my mental process, my mental thinking, I'm apprehensive, I'm worried about time, I'm thinking that this is too big for me, I'm thinking that this might be a silly goal, I'm thinking that who is going to buy it, I'm thinking that, oh my gosh, what do I have to give and offer into this journal? I'm thinking that, can I really do it? I'm thinking, I don't have time. I'm thinking, this is too hard. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look at all the excuses that I am making. And that adds to another question for me from a curiosity perspective. Why am I really making so many excuses? So now I'm going to ask myself, is this something I really want to do? Is this something I'm interested in doing? Or is this something I am committed to doing? And that's a question that you're going to hear me ask all the time. That's a very, very crucial element. And I'll tell you, I stole that from John Assaraf, whom is a brilliant mentor of mine I've had the privilege to work with and get to know. Gosh, it was 2012, 11, I think 11 when I first really started getting introduced to John Assaraf, and then had the opportunity to work with him on multiple things. But he tells a story of how one of his mentors, when he was early in his career, asked him that question: are you committed or are you just interested? And that's part of the self-reflection that I'm going to go through. And now that I'm literally talking about this journal that I want to create, I'm actually giving you these examples live from my brain. I'm really going to go back and think about this. And the truth is, as I feel right now that this is too much for me to do right now. This is a 2020 goal, but today it's not something I can immediately implement. So now I need to ask the question, if this is a goal of mine and if this is an intention of mine, how can I commit to it and really make it a real tangible goal? So by writing all of these things down and kind of layering them out, this is what I think and feel, this is my mindset right now. That's what I can start to measure. And that's what I can start to change. So self-reflection, I understand why people give up on personal development and have these cycles. Because let me tell you, it's a tough deal. It's tough to really sit down and go through this. It's a mentally taxing process at first until you learn how to do the other things to help mentally clear your mind and to help mentally relax. And that's part of meditation, it's part of mindfulness, it's part of having fun and joy and doing the things every day that give you pleasure, but also giving you fulfillment and meaning. But barriers and hurdles, they are going to be there. And the sooner we can address them, the sooner we can crush them, the sooner we can start knocking them down, the sooner we can start asking the questions why they're there. The sooner we can see them and address them. And I think that's probably the bigger element to all of this, is knowing that they're there. Recognizing that they're there really is empowering. Recognizing that a hurdle exists and what that is really kind of a liberating moment of, okay, I see you. I see you there. Now, what am I going to do about it? A lot of times people will say in their, I will say 9-to-5 jobs. And I don't mean that in any type of disrespect way, because there's people who have wonderful, fulfilling lives in 9-to-5 jobs. I'm just putting that in a difference between an entrepreneur, an independent business owner, and someone who has a career that works for somebody else. But a lot of times people will look at that in that career path type of way and really think they don't have control over these hurdles. And it's true, some hurdles you don't. You can't control a boss deadline. You can't control what your coworkers think or feel. You can't control certain circumstances. You can't control certain work environments, etc. But you can control what you see and how you think and feel and respond to all of those things. And I think a lot of times with everything, if we just acknowledge them, that's the first process to everything. If we really want to start knocking down barriers, if we really want to start moving the needle for our goals, if we really want to start enhancing our satisfaction, acknowledging that a thought was there, acknowledging that a thing was there, acknowledging our mindset, acknowledging the hurdle or the obstacle, the barrier, that's a huge, huge step. And that's also why a lot of people really give up on self-help and shelf it. Because it can be a lot. It can be heavy, and it can be really honest. It can be really curious. It should be very curious. But it can be really honest of saying, oh my gosh, maybe the barrier is me. Maybe the barrier is just my own stinking thinking. Maybe that barrier is what I am doing every single time to sabotage just by a thought or just by an action that I'm doing. So this is welcome to Go Reflect Yourself. That's what this is all about. And as we continue through our journey together, and as we continue to talk about things, I invite you to listen, to come and to join me and to talk about it and to tell me what's working, what's not working. But my goal for each and every listener, my goal is to create massive, wild success with fulfillment, with abundance, beyond imagination, to really feel happiness and joy. Because we can have all of those things. We can absolutely have happiness right in our own hands. It's already there. I believe each and every one of us have these beautiful gifts inside of us. And sometimes we just need to have a light so we can see it. Sometimes we need to have some encouragement. Sometimes we need to have somebody believe in us so we can see and start to believe those things within ourselves. I'll tell you this quick story and then I'll close for today. But I had a client, gosh, it's been a few years ago, and he was really struggling. And the conversation I had with him was one I actually had with myself a few years prior. And he came to me and he was like, just talking about how frustrated he was in what does he have to offer that's any different or better than his competition. And he felt like he just was doing the same thing that other people were doing. And so why him? Why pick him? And I don't know how he took my response, and I don't know how he really thought about it, other than obviously what he told me. But I mean, I sat down for just a second when he asked me that question, and then I got kind of mad at him because I said, you are so unique. You're uniquely qualified. You're uniquely capable of being different because you are you. And if you can't see that, I don't know what to tell you. And I was very nice about it. I wasn't like calling him names or being mean, but I was very firm. I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to say. I was really firm because we all get stuck in this comparison mindset of why me, or why am I any different? And this conversation I had with him really, really shed light on, you've got to take what is unique about you, because your experiences, your credibility from your experiences create your unique story. You may offer the same exact thing. You may be a dentist with another dentist across the street, and across the street from there, and across the street on all four corners. But you are different because you have a different personality. You have a different path. You have a different experience. You have a different way. You may deliver the same exact product or service, and if that is 100% the same, you are what makes it unique. And that in and of itself is good enough. And really tapping into that and feeling it, that is what can set you apart. And so that's what my soapbox is, if you will, on why I feel it's so important for us to have reflection, so we can start to tap into that each and every day. Because if we can feel more confident with ourselves, if we can understand these things, if we can understand our barriers, if we can understand our thoughts and our feelings and our mindset, those will lead to our successes, because that's when we'll start taking action. And not just action, but massive, massive action. And my uncle, I love him dearly. He is one of my biggest fans, one of my biggest supporters. Truly, truly a beautiful, wonderful figure in my life. And I'm very fortunate to have him and people like that love and support me. He's always pushing me, and I love it, because he's been part of my journey for a very long time and have heard me complain about everything, anything and everything. And I love his perspective, and it always reminds me to go back to really understanding the obstacles. But he was talking to me recently, and he was like, you're chipping down walls, and you're chipping down these barriers, and you're going to crush them, and you're going to annihilate them. And it was just a wonderful, like, pep talk type of moment, right? But it really got me thinking that the more that we acknowledge, not only can we crush those barriers, we can knock over the hurdles, but if it's a wall that's not moving, we find a way to go around it. We find a way to go over it. But until we can see it, we can't really do anything about it. So that's my story. And thank you for being here. Thank you so much for listening. And I'd love to hear what motivates you, what maybe challenges you might be having, what specific things that can help you, or the things that you might need help with. And now it's time for the Go Reflect Yourself tip of the day. This episode, I talked about a mindfulness or meditative practice that you can do that can help give you focused attention. And when you start having barriers or you start having things that come up in your brain, what you can do. So I'm going to walk you through it right now. If you're driving, just listen. Listen with attention and curiosity, but don't go through this. Please just listen and go back through this later when you're not driving. Whatever you're doing right now, let's just go through this. Set your phone down, close the door, sit in a spot where you can be alone just for a couple minutes. And this will just be a couple minutes, but this is a focused attention practice where you can help draw some wisdom and just have some calm and curiosity. So we're going to start by sitting. You can put your feet firmly on the ground or your chair, or if you're standing, either way, it's okay. You can close your eyes, or you can look with a soft gaze down in front of you, just trying to block some distractions from your peripheral. And you can relax your shoulders and your neck. Try to release if there's any tension there. That's where we tend to hold it. And have your body in a nice upright posture. Your legs firmly on the ground. And have your spine in a nice, long, tall. And imagine that there's a balloon above your head and there's a string attached to it. And it's just gently kind of pulling your head up towards the sky to help you with your spine, nice and long where it can breathe, and yet keep your shoulders and your neck relaxed. And we'll breathe in, just focus your breath. Really just draw attention to your breath. As the cool air comes in through your nostrils and the warm air releases on the exhale, and just do that and then return to a normal breath. And then follow it. And you can start to ask yourself, where do I feel in my body right now? And then just breathe into that spot. Maybe it's your neck that you're holding on tightly. Maybe it's your stomach. Wherever that is, just continue to breathe into that gently. And you can ask yourself, if there's a specific question on your mind, if you just went through the exercise of this mental barrier or this thing, why did I feel such a pit in my stomach? You just leave it as simple as that and just breathe into it and see where it leads you. If your mind starts to race, that's okay. Just continue to breathe, and you can even return your attention to the focus of the breath. You can take those thoughts and release them as thought bubbles. And as you continue, just focus on your breath. I'm going to leave you here for about 30 seconds. And I'm going to just say, continue with a nice inhale and exhale. And as you refocus back on your breath, I'm now going to ring a bell, and I'd like you to listen with your full attention from start to finish of the bell. And as your attention starts coming back to the here and now, you can ask yourself what one or two words now comes up for you. And just write them down with complete curiosity. And that might be something that you can go back and do another focused meditation on. Or you can just simply do a couple deep breaths and think about that one word. And then you can ask yourself, what's your deepest value right now in relation to that word? The point of this exercise is not to force an answer. It's to allow your brain to relax and for your body to settle and for you to be able to connect with the two. The more that you do this simple exercise, the more clarity you will draw, and you might spark some additional curiosity or some additional wisdom or creativity. Either way, it's going to calm your brain down, and it's going to allow you to have just a few moments of focused attention. Your stress will be reduced. Those feelings that you'll have will be able to be relaxed. And your body will be in a state now, it will be more receptive. So when you really start feeling frustrated about, especially when you're journaling or you're thinking about things, we tend to want the answer. This simple exercise will help you just calm that body down. I hope this has been helpful. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Go Reflect Yourself. For more inspired action or to stay in touch, head on over to heatherjcrider.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram at #HeatherJCrider or #GoReflectYourself. Until next time, I'm challenging you to go reflect yourself. We'll see you soon.